over 70% of the crypto market is Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. Why did I name those four? They're not securities.
Approval. And so, it's complicated. It doesn't feel it's the way it should be done, right? Congress should legislate who gets to regulate. There's a big lawsuit that will play out in the next few months with Ripple. There's some information coming out tomorrow from a speech that one of the SEC commissioners had made, where he broadly said, this is how we look at securities and non-securities. The SEC fought to keep that speech from coming out. It's coming out. But we'll see, does the SEC even have the right to regulate the digital assets? And so a lot of complication. What it means for the market is institutional investors just get nervous.
The big one is the supply-demand balance issue. In other words, when it happens that people don't want to buy enough debt that needs to be sold, you have the bigger crisis, a debt rollover question. And so let's say, as we're now going to issue another huge amount of debt, and the owners of that debt, there's a lot of owners of that debt who own too much of it. In fact, the main problem that's existing today, that is with banks and with other governments and others, is they own too many treasuries that are losing money. Okay, so the Silicon Valley Bank losses and so on, and the banking system's losses are largely due, including the central bank's losses, the Federal Reserve's losses, are largely due to holding bonds that are gone down in value, therefore lost money, and funding it with an interest rate that's too high. So that dynamic is very, very risky. Over the next couple of years, we're going to see that supply-demand dynamic. And even if that's not a problem, you have the debt encroaching on the debt service. So it's unsustainable. And the question is, when? It's made more unsustainable by certain things in geopolitics internationally.
For example, China doesn't want to hold as much of our debt, maybe.
That's one. Yeah. Other countries, too, are increasingly feeling worried about sanctions. In other words, could they be sanctioned? These types of things can affect the demand for the bonds. If you get them to sell the bonds, then it's a real problem. So, because that means either interest rates go up a lot or central banks have to come in and print a lot. And that's the thing that we have to be wary of. So in either case, we're going to have a debt problem. And the question is, how quickly and does it evolve in the way that I described? Debt service payments or rollover.
Sure. Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we're seeing Bitcoin and crypto take a hit. And tech stocks booming off of AI. And crypto should be booming right along with it. But we know Gary Gensler is the chess piece for the NWO to hold crypto back so the emerging markets can take the lead. And we have Mike Novogratz talks about the Ripple case and Hinman'S email and speech that gets released tomorrow. On the same day, Jerome is in the house. And guys, we see how they all waste time these distractions. Everybody's going to be focused on Ripple XRP while they should be focused on the Fed and Janet Yellen's strategy on getting these funds back replenished. Remember, guys, these countries do not want to hold the United States paper for a long period of time. We see so many countries trying to get off the United States dollar, and we know the NWO is pushing the cashless society. They want the rise of the digital yuan. All you have to do is look at the Belt and Road. And going towards the end of the year, we're going to hear the drums are beating louder. But guys, we know when it comes to the NWO, they fund both sides, the big corporations and the big banks. It has happened time and time again. And we see all of our big banks and big corporations invested in China. But the mainstream media pushes the narrative that China is the enemy. And remember, the United States is the last free nation. And that's the reason why they want to destroy it. And we know the Hegelian dialectic and divide and conquer works every time. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Be completely wrong. You want to lay out the risks that we're still facing and what worries you about it?
Sure, Becky. Thanks very much for being here, for having me with you. So I might be too scarred by the 2008 financial crisis. I don't mean to suggest that we're on the front end of what we all experienced back then. But this is a time where markets are giving the Fed a free look. The markets have been benign since the crises of 5 and 8 weeks ago. And my sense today is they should do what we should have done during this period of calm on this day in 2008 and buy some insurance. The way I look at things, we are unlikely to be in some durable, strong economy where we should be certain of the future. We should buy some insurance. There should be some risk management. In the event things don't go well, we should use this moment to protect ourselves and protect the banking system. And so what I outline in the op-ed is simply to suggest that the market structure of banking, with a few very large institutions at the top and 4,000 institutions below them, struggling to figure out how to have profitable business models, this is not a great environment, and the Fed should do a couple of things to try to strengthen the banking system. So on the other side of this, we've got credit that can go to small and medium-sized businesses, and they don't have to go to extraordinary lengths if bad things happen.
Well, we've all noticed that big tech has been leading in a big way so far this year. Our next guest has run the numbers and says, in fact, this is the most concentrated market ever. With us now, Tony Sacconaghi, Senior Research Analyst at Bernstein. Tony, welcome. Good to see you. When the market gets this concentrated and when 10 stocks are driving the performance the way the Big 10 have since the lows in October, what tends to happen next to the market and to those 10 stocks?
Good afternoon, Tyler, and thank you for having me on the show. Yes, this is the most concentrated market ever. About 90% of the returns since the beginning of the year have been driven by 10 stocks in the S&P 500. And the contribution of those stocks, those 10 stocks, have generated 9.5 points of return this year so far. We haven't seen anything like that before. So we went back and we looked at the last 45 years or so since 1980. We divided each time frame into half-year periods, since we're half a year so far. And then we looked at, okay, what happens in concentrated markets? What happens after the 6-month period where you have 10 stocks really driving the market? And, somewhat comfortingly, we found that the market does okay. It kind of performs in line with history over the following 6 and 12 months. Those 10 stocks tend to modestly underperform, however. So collectively, in periods of concentrated market performance, what we found over the following 6 months and 12 months, those 10 stocks have generally underperformed by about 400 basis points.
Totally dependent, but there's no way that they're going to end, that Disney's going to pull out or Apple's going to pull out or any of these companies are not going to do business in China. Starbucks, any of these companies.
Well, you're right. And first off, it's great to be on with Evan, who was on the Intelligence Committee, which means he's more intelligent than I am. And his comments are right on. But you're right. There was a period, there has been a period where we've tried to engage with China commercially in a way that would hopefully lessen the tension between a democracy and a dictatorship ruled by the gun, as I said. But now you have a new leadership in China, and she basically is moving China back to a much more autocratic system, if it could be more autocratic, but in the area of commercial activity. And that's changing the ground rules. And we have to go into this with open eyes. I mean, we can't be unrealistic. We can't put on rose-colored glasses. We are dealing with a government that basically manages its people and its economy. And yes, we want to do everything we can to try to work through those relationships so that we can continue to do business in China in a constructive way, but we have to be realistic enough to know that China really wants to replace the United States. They want to replace the dollar as the world's currency, and they want to replace us as the force in the world for democracy.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leverage to technology, and I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.